Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the maiden voyage of Bars Closing, our afternoon broadcast. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate everybody coming. It's February 28th, and my name is Jim Cagnina with NinjaTrader. Appreciate everybody being here today. Andrew, Anisha, Mom and Dad, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. This is, like I said, our maiden launch right now. We're really excited about it. We're going to talk about what happened in the day. We're going to look at some trade ideas at the end of this session and kind of take a look forward going forward into the future. Before we get started, though, again, I do want to remind everybody trading futures, options on futures involves substantial risk of loss, not suitable for all traders and investors. Oftentimes in futures trading, you have a high combination of leverage and volatility. And although that can be an equation for opportunity, also an equation for risk. So be careful. Only fund your futures trading account with risk capital. My personal definition: money I can afford to lose, doesn't change my lifestyle, doesn't lengthen my retirement horizon, and doesn't overly stress me out. Be in a good spot, easy on the day trade margins. We're going to be looking for trade ideas with a real-time sim account, the NinjaTrader software. None of this is construed as investment advice. Appreciate comments, questions, ideas, observations as we go. Hans, good evening, afternoon. It's probably quite late for you, but appreciate you being here. Keith, good afternoon as well. Well, let's do a market recap here. What a day. I mean, I have the E-mini S&P 500 futures, the S&P 500 daily chart on the screen. And I'm going to kind of focus in on the contemporary candles here on the right-hand side. We're in this downward channel here. Of course, the big spotlight is on the Ukraine-Russian conflict that's going on right now. And if I could kind of just point your fingers to the last bar, this is the contemporary bar. This is a daily candle. This is where we're trading at right now. If you go to the far right, you can see prices are kind of moving around in real time, 43.30, 43.29 and a quarter as we speak. My understanding that Jen Psaki, the press secretary for the president, may have just finished up her press conference. It might still be going on. I'm not sure. I was logging in and getting prepared at the end here. So that has the potential to move things if she is still doing her thing. So we're trading above my channel right now. This is a trend channel. It's real basic, real simple chart. We're trading above it right now. And the previous session, we really finished strong, right? We really finished strong from a daily candle point of view. Today, we had some price dislocation back down. And what we're looking at is almost an inside bar, right? And the definition of inside bar is where, the candle has a lower high and a higher low than the previous candle. We didn't quite make it because we have that little wick up here, but this is extraordinary times we're living through, extraordinary volatility. And the body is certainly within the body of the previous candle. So inside bar, anything could happen. We're right at the top of my trend line. We're driving up toward the 38.2% retracement. Or if the glass is half empty, we're shooting back down to the 42.65, 23%, 23.6% retracement. And I just did draw that price limit number down. Every day there's going to be a different price limit, lock limit down number, and I'll keep you posted on that. The only reason I have it up here right now is, like I said, unusual times. We have to be really careful. So the market's kind of settling down, a little unsure of itself, and we'll see that more prominently when we get to a 10-minute chart here in a little bit. The Nasdaq, the micro E-mini Russell, structurally the same, right between the 23.6 and the 38.2% retracement. This is not an inside bar by my stretch of the imagination like the other one was. We have big wicks up, big wicks down, almost a doji-like looking type of candle, but it's bigger than it looks. So not really. But again, it's kind of settling down in the middle of yesterday's body of its candle. So it's a little bit uncertain, right? And there's a lot of uncertainty we're going to talk about. Anisha, 10 p.m. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. It is next. Good to see you again. Jason, Chris from Texas, good afternoon. I'm excited to be here on the close. You don't have to thank me. A lot of great stuff happened today. Let's kind of move forward here. And we're going to talk about the gap last night and how it got filled and how this morning I said gaps don't always get filled, but sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Don't worry. If you were here this morning, we're going to have a part B to that gap conversation. Williams is here. My stream froze for a couple minutes. Sorry about that. Let's shoot over to gold. Again, this is risk off asset. Gold, we're closing well above where we closed yesterday, right? So yesterday, the previous session. So 1887 was previous. We're closing way above 1906-ish, give or take. I'm bullish on gold right now. I feel like this is finally living up to all its expectations, right? Gold's living up to its expectations is a flight to safety. We don't see it very often. We don't see it when we're talking about, just like inflation and those kinds of economic factors, but we are seeing it now, and it's spectacular to see. Chris Kiggs is in the room. Good to see you. Tom, hello. Thanks for being here. Heinrich, afternoon to you too. Thanks for coming. So keep an eye on this. This market is really right now indirectly correlated to the equity markets, almost 100%, not quite. This crude oil is another one. Treasury bonds is another one. And we're going to take a peek at those really quickly on a daily candle. Here we have a trend channel up. I've been bullish for crude for a long time. Supply and demand market. Some of the supply may or may not be cut off. Sanctions may or may not be on the table, depending on how you listen to it. Remember, today's theme, if anything, this weekend's theme, if anything, it's sell the rumor, buy the fact, right? I get all sorts of conflicting information by blue check Twitter people or by folks on Bloomberg saying, giving us different information that's kind of conflicting. So you got to really be careful. As an example, the latest is that talks did not resolve anything today. There's with respect to the Ukrainian folks and the Russian folks, and that they're going to reconvene, right? So that's positive. Maybe reconvening, continue to talk is positive. The negative is no signs of Russian de-escalation. Right. So when you weed through all of these different headlines designed to get your attention, be skeptical, read the article, find out what's behind it. Take your time. Don't react too quickly. Rip body fat. If we see a trade idea, Rip body fat has to do trade in the afternoon. If we see a trade idea, we will definitely do it this afternoon. Griffin is back from walking the dogs and then some, probably. Welcome back. Treasury bonds. I've been bearish bonds for a long period of time. Look at this. Flight to quality is exactly what we expect in uncertain times. Finally, it's living up to its expectation, in addition to this phenomenon that's going on with the Fed. And I'm going to ask Mark if he could type in, and I'm going to find it on my Google search here, CME Group Fed Funds tool. Mark, if you could type that link in, I'm going to pull up this page. And this is the Fed Funds tool, which tries to use the Fed Funds futures to determine the probability of rate hikes. And this has been wild. This has been as volatile as the markets themselves. I'm going to go ahead, click on the probability tab at the left side. Thanks for that, Mark. We have 316, the next FOMC meeting, 316, 93% chance, according to this probability tool, that there's only going to be a 25% basis point or 0.25% hike, as opposed to a 6% potential, which would be a 0.5% or a 50 basis point hike. This is flip-flopped pretty much. Not too long ago, a week or so ago, before the invasion, I'm going to call it an invasion. Everyone's calling it an invasion. I think it's safe to say it was 25%, 75%. So the odds were, before all this happened, that the Fed was going to be more hawkish. Now the feeling is the Fed's going to be more dovish. And so this is the other crosswind that we're facing when you got the geopolitical, and then you have what's going to happen with their money supply, what's going to happen with how all the central banks are going to treat this. And even, the chatters, even the ECB is kind of thinking of slowing the roll going into the fourth quarter of 2022 with respect to their monetary policy. So that's kind of interesting for sure. Here's another one, Bitcoin. I was bearish on Bitcoin, I couldn't figure this out. This green candle, I was like, how could this be? So this was the anti-gold market for a long period of time. Sorry, I'm getting really excited about this, but it was the anti-gold market. And now we have this big green candle, we have buyers coming in. Well, after reading a little bit, scratching my head and thinking, this is a good way to be able to get rid of your rubles, right? Or to cash in, right? So there's this dynamic going in here, because right now, and let's just go over to a ruble chart just to kind of this is the Russian ruble US dollar currency cross at the CME group. Right now, there's no buyers of rubles, right? There is none. It's, cash machines are flooded with folks trying to get dough out, and it's pretty brutal. So with this great depreciation, it's a struggle. And the central bank in Russia even doubled the prime rate today or earlier in the morning to 20 from 10. It was a big deal. So there's this whole currency play also as part of the sanctions. And I think this Bitcoin candle is coming into play finally, right? Coming into play. So we're going to keep an eye on that and see if it continues to get bigger or not, or if it's just a short-term phenomenon today. I don't know. Griffin, nice short at 50 around 2. That's about it for the day. We're going to pivot there and really shortly here. I just do want to show wheat. All right, wheat's all over the news. I don't have anything on here. I don't even have a MACD. I don't even have a Fibonacci line. I'm looking at a daily chart. This is looking pretty ugly, right? A lot of volatility. Today's candle, keep an eye on it. Buyers just came back in and pushed this thing up. It almost looks like a shooting star doji. This is kind of ugly. This wick up here probably will be attacked. Not the highest we've ever seen wheat, but it's pretty high up there relative to everything else. So when we talk about commodity prices, these kind of markets where you have an export potential for export sanctions is going to not only weigh on wheat, but also on all the commodities, right? I mean, it's a different food source, but it's a food source that's necessary globally, not just locally. So this is kind of interesting. This is the Chicago version of this contract, by the way, that we're looking at right now. All right. Having said all that, let's take a super quick 30-second break, and we're going to get into the 10-minute charts.
The path ahead is full of potential. From here, you can see where many have gone before. In trading, the right tools can mean the difference between failure and victory. The first step of this journey is not only brave, but necessary for success. Take control of your financial destiny with NinjaTrader. Start your futures trading journey with a free demo account and live market data at NinjaTrader.com.
All right, we are back and we're approaching the last call. And remember, futures trading does have that extra hour, right? But we're going to track this through regular trading hours, right? New York, regular trading hours. And then we're going to talk about the future after that. There's that extra hour, though, I really want to talk about, because let's take a look at this particular previous session. We had a close previous session, which was Friday, right? Way up here. We opened Sunday, gap down, huge gap. And remember this morning, I said, well, don't put too much stock in these gaps because they don't always fill right away, right? Remember I said that? Well, it did fill today. And let's take a look. What I mean by fill, prices kind of traded back up and all the way up to where we actually closed on Friday. It was almost perfect to the T. I didn't even realize this. I talked to my brother later in the afternoon, but sure enough, it was just almost textbook. It was really pretty, and my Fibonacci retracement is looking really nice right now. This whole volume profile is really beautiful. I mean, look at the point of control. We're right at it right now. We're a little north of it. It totally aligns with the 38.2% Fibonacci. Funny how it happens that way. It's crazy. Griffin's talking about to Chris from Texas. You had a pivot around 1. It retested that price and couldn't make a higher high. It tested 54 several times, so I put a stop at 50. Griffin says you have a nice test of 55, so I could put a stop right above. It's easier to manage the trade. Anonymous loves Ukraine. Thanks for being here. So let's kind of take a look at some of these numbers right now. So literally, the close, we have 30 minutes, pretty much 31 minutes before last call is over, right? We're in that section right now. So really the $1 million question is, how do you want to play this? Is the news really still that bad? Is the potential for the news that bad for the rest of the afternoon? Are buyers going to come in and try to regain some of the ground that they lost today? Or are sellers going to take over again? It's tough to say because this is an unusual circumstance, but I'm using the volume profile, and I'm going to take a look at the CCI. CCI is almost neutral at 12, That's my oscillator. And then I have my moving average cost, which is starting to converge a little bit, right? And remember, we have we have more than 30 minutes for this trade to work, right? Because of that extra hour you get in futures trading. But at the end of the regular trading hours, different things happen, right? Different things happen. There's squeezes, there's profit taking, there's things that aren't necessarily related to structure. So we want to be careful with that. And since we're right at the point of control right now, and the VWAP is just horizontal and we're right at it, and it's going to change if we break down. Right now, it's just a matter of being patient, in my opinion. I am leaning toward the bearish side, right? I am really leaning toward the bearish side. And the reason is, just there's so much negative stuff going on. Let's draw a rectangle. Oops, I already have one down there. I'm just going to move it over. I'm going to be lazy. I'm moving it over. There it is. I just draw it. This is not even a short term, a longer term area of support, right? We tried to get in it once, twice, 3, 4, 5, couldn't break into it, couldn't close, at the bottom of the value area. We couldn't. We struggled. So that's actually right now a target in my mind. Right. And I'm looking at this point of control as potential entry. I'm not so sure. I'm going to be a little bit patient here. We're going to look at a couple of the other markets before we leap into it any further. Griffin says the MACD had a divergence and was rolling over also. Roiling or rolling? It could be either. It could be either in this market. All right, let's shoot over to the micro NASDAQ. Wow, look at that. That's the problem with this. You got the crazy volume profile. You have the night cluster of volume, the day cluster of volume. Structurally, we're pretty similar. We're right at the point of control, except I got to fix my Fibonacci line. This is left over from this morning. Jim, what were you doing all afternoon? Why didn't you change it earlier? I don't know. Don't hold it against me. We're going to move it over now. It's easy to do. It's free on NinjaTrader. There we go. It's all done. Let me make sure I did that properly. Right. So I'm taking a peek at the whole field. I want to see the whole thing. Let's take a look. CCI again, neutral, moving average cross sideways. This could be an exhausted market, right? Going into the close. It could be like, all right, listen, we're happy where we're at right now. We're going to simulate more news tonight. Let's take a breath. And maybe that's what we're seeing. It's just exhausted. I'm not sure. However, I'm going to focus on the value area and the point of control for sure. My bias is a little bearish right now. There's just too much bad news going on, right? You see that point of control just shifted, as a matter of fact. So let's think about a rectangle here. I'm going to go ahead and move this one over. Same structure, same idea. And I'm going to look above and see if there's anything comparable. And there isn't really. I guess what you could do, though, if you're really industrious, and I'm going to be really industrious, we're going to go ahead and just kind of pick off this little area right here, right? We haven't closed in this box since earlier today. It's been over an hour. So let's kind of look at that as another area. So we're kind of surrounding the market a little bit, right? My instinct now tells me, I feel like with gold being where it's at, with crude being where it's at, I'm looking for a place to sell. And maybe we won't get any velocity whatsoever this afternoon, but let's give it a try. I like the top of that rectangle. I'm going to go ahead and throw a unit in. This is a micro ES. Micro E-mini NASDAQ, trying to get short. Right there. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to let it play out. We might consider a second unit. I don't know, but we're going to wait. I'm going to also, from a stop point of view, new highs just for a catastrophic stop. We're going to go ahead and modify that as we go. Griffin says, I think we missed a nice short at 41. Let's pull that over at 41. Right now we're at, if you got short at 41, it would have been sweet. But it would have been hard to do because you had a series of higher lows, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. You would have to get it here, and you had a series of higher highs, and that always worries me. It always worries me. Alternatively, though, you could have drawn your rectangle. Let's just copy and paste. That's a little quick trick, and kind of move another rectangle up. You could have done something like that and said, "Hey, if it penetrates into my rectangle, I want to get short." So that was maybe one thing you had in your favor to try to identify that trade. We didn't do it, but that's a great observation because that would have been a great trade. In any event, so NASDAQ trying to sell 106.25. We'll be patient, see what happens. It's touching the volume weighted average price. That's that blue line in the middle. Let's kind of jump over to crude right now. Micro crude, end of the day, I don't know if I'm interested. This is a beautiful, I mean, I am short of like sounding a little crazy. I'm in love with this volume profile. It's really, really pretty. It's right, right where it should be. The point of control is right where it should be. Plenty of meat above, plenty of meat below, and we're trading right at it. So right now, this market probably is in waiting mode and not going to probably do anything. I think we oscillated around this point of control a lot today. In my fib line, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing I should have done earlier in the afternoon. Apologies for not being better suited to rumble. There we go. High to low. There we are. Really, really small bodies of these candles right here. So we're going to go ahead and skip it. Go to the next one. Let's check out gold right now. Gold fighting back. Bullish on gold until this whole mess is, until I see the word ceasefire. Agreements and ceasefire. I want to see those two words, and then maybe we'll start thinking about selling gold. Griffin said it's a lot nicer setup on a 1 minute chart. We're talking about this 41s we missed. A series of higher lows, series of higher highs. We're slowly creeping back up, and sure enough, what are we looking at? Point of control. It's amazing. And the VWAP is there. Not a lot of velocity right now, so I'm not ready to just jump into this as well. But if I were, I would definitely be looking for places to get long in gold on the close. Treasury bonds is a big story for me today. Big story for me today. Look at that. I have a fib line that's reasonably close to where it should be. Right off the highs of today. My guess is this is going to move tonight a little bit. This is a risk off, flight to quality. Things are moving in a northerly direction, contrary to what they should be, given where we want the yield curve to be going into this high inflation era, which looks like it's going to continue to be a high inflation era, given Fed people being dovish, being the Fed funds being dovish more than they probably should be. And even the European central bank folks are saying, hey, we're going to have, now that we have this conflict and we're fighting this conflict, we're going to have to live with higher inflation for a while. It's just the way it is. And I kind of believe that it has a good ring to it. It makes a lot of sense. Chris says from Texas, FYI, pivot on MES was yesterday's high. And we'll go back to the MES in a second here after we contemplate. I'm not doing anything here on treasury bonds. From a just a casual glance point of view, someone might say, oh, I'm going to sell the high right now. I'm just going to sell one and sell the high and put a stop close. And, it could only go down. That's not true. It could go up. So think about it. It could go up. The trend is up. And when you see a structure like this, don't just decide visually, it looks like it can't go up any higher. That makes sense, just from a rudimentary point of view, but that is not true. It can continue to go up, and it's in bull mode. We're not selling anything in this market this very second. Tomorrow might be a different matter. All right, let's go back to the MES. Everybody seems excited about that. I'm going to pull this down a little bit. A lot of the action's been up north today, even though we're down for the day. We filled the gap. Market's starting to sell off right now. We'll see what happens with our rectangle. We really, really, really have a lot of time left, right? And the last call is a half an hour, right? And it's a lot of time. You got to be on your guard. There are folks that are literally folks. When I say folks, traders, institutions, hedgers, all sorts of market participants that could be unwinding positions for the day, swing traders or unwinding, or, hey, I want to establish a position going into overnight or longer, right? So there's that type of behavior that happens at the end of the day, which is different than in the middle of the day. Again, my experience, my opinion, middle of the day is different. End of the day, you have some jockeying, you have some reshuffling of positions, both short and long term. Oh, man. Fernando says, this is nice. Does NT offer this channel and analysis often? Heck yeah. I'm going to ask Mark to be kind enough to cut and paste in our NinjaTrader events schedule so you have it. We do 2 shows a day, every day. And this is the maiden launch of the afternoon one. We're getting our feet wet. we're kind of figuring out how we're going to handle the close every day. And we've been doing the morning show for a long time. So feel free. Mark will cut and paste that into the chat in a second. You'll be able to see the link. It's ninjatrader.com/events. Easy to remember. All right. Thank you, Mark. Here we go. We have another bar. We have the 340 bar, kind of driving back up to the point of control, driving back up to the VWAP. And, it just bounced off that 50%. So again, I feel like we're going to settle closer to the point of control. And this is a micro contract. So we could place orders in micros, right? I'm going to go ahead and just be a little bit north of that 50%, throw an order in, buy limit, 43.22 and 3/4. You can align it up with the volume profile, and there's a lot of meat on the bone on the volume profile there. And I don't know, we're right at the bottom of the previous candle, but I envision a scenario where we could have a higher low and still get filled. So I'm going to be patient there. But again, at the bottom of my rectangle, right away, I'm going to put a sell stop in. This is best practice. Get your stops in, especially on the downside, especially when we have all this like negative drag in the world right now. So keep that in mind. Post-COVID, to add to the crosswinds also. Fernando, appreciate that. That's a thumbs up. So we'll be patient here and kind of wait and watch and see if we do drive up to that point of control. We're kind of learning as we go here. ES is down 48 on the day. You can see the counter up in the upper right-hand side. And then I have my, for those of you who are new, the bar timer is on the lower right where my crosshairs is intersecting down on the lower right. It's 7 more minutes before the next bar, getting close here. In 3 minutes, there's going to be a 15-minute bar too that closes. And that should trigger some velocity one way or the other in some of these candles. The 15 minutes are kind of more important. Remember, on a 15-minute candle, 15-minute bar is completed. A 10-minute bar, 5-minute bar is also completed, so that you have more information for algos, for people, system traders, for people who are trading off the 15-minute to generate some trade activity right now. We're about 8 handles away from our entry, and it's pretty far away. It looks like an ordinary time. So this is not an ordinary time. This is extraordinary time. So we're going to be patient again, wait, and kind of go from there. So Fernando, am I going to see you tomorrow morning? That's my biggest question. Tomorrow morning, 9:10, East Coast time. We have an opposite point of view here with the NASDAQ. And, this is a systematic trade environment, but that's okay. The systematic trade environment, a lot of things are going exactly the same way. End of the day, I'm rooting on each market to find its own individual resting spot. And that's why we're doing a little bit of a conflicting kind of different position trade. Minus 104 on the NASDAQ. That's pretty brutal. That's a big number for sure. In any event, we'll be patient. We'll see what happens. If you're interested in going long here, you can. You just do the exact same thing that we're doing here in the micros, right? And once we get a little bit more experience under our belt, we'll probably end up with the classic ES toward the end of the day. Hopefully, things will start slowing down here a little bit as well. Right at the VWAP, right at the point of control, right at the 38.2%. It is amazing how at the end of the day, everything kind of converges. CCI is minus 21 now. It's the trend on CCI is not in our favor. Let's draw a real quick trend line. We could delete it. And this is a thing, right? Drawing trend lines on oscillators. And that's a thing. So the trend for a long period of time is upward on the CCI. What time was this? 210 to 220 candle. Keep an eye on that. It's a technique that's kind of common. If I were doing it earlier today, as an example, we would have done something, like that. And you could see the trend was down on that CCI earlier today. Now, it takes a while before you see prices to move because these are lagging indicators, right? These are lagging indicators. They're not going to give you the answer. They just give us another piece of information, right? They give us another piece of information that we could hold to be interesting to give us areas of interest. Okay, now we're cruising back up into my rectangle. Buyers are coming in on the MES. We still have another, here we go, the 945 candle as 945 time frame, right? We're 20 seconds into it. Buyers are coming in off of that. Let's go, and maybe we end up shifting to a 15-minute chart at the end of the day. I don't know. We're going through the discovery process together. We're short here. We got it. I didn't hear my bell go off. I didn't hear it. Sold one. All right, so let's think a little bit. We don't have a profit target in yet, and we ended up short right here where this label is, right? So 106 and a quarter. Market's kind of driving upward right now. It doesn't look like a big candle, but it is a pretty big candle. How do you like that? So a couple of things I'm thinking about is, all right, we have to adjust our stop. It's way out of whack, right? We're not going to write it up to new highs today. And we have to come up with a profit target on the way down. So right now, I'm just going to consider the rectangle at the bottom. We're going to go ahead and throw it in, the target. And then I'm going to consider where I want to move my stop. The top of the value area is a great potential area, at least to get it to first and foremost. I'm going to do that right now. So we're kind of surrounding the trade idea. I'm going to go ahead and shrink the stop a little bit more if we end up with a bar that closes in or above this rectangle here that I drew earlier today. All right. All right. Just cruising through again, looking at the question. If I missed something, type it in. Be happy to talk about it. We're 34 handles into this thing. Now, if it wasn't the end of the day and you were considering adding a second unit, I don't know if I'd be an advocate for it or not. Probably I would. And I'd probably, because again, this point of control is intriguing to me. I'd probably be using the 23.6. I would have my stop originally where it was, and I would make it a 2-lot stop, right? Because we have 2 units in. But we're up against the clock now. Remember, it's closing time right now. It's almost closing time right now. It's last call right now. And we got about 13 more minutes. So let's just see what happens here. We'll hang tight. Fernando says, heading back up to the settlement area, perhaps, although a bit far away. Yeah, that could be true. That could be true. Good comment. We'll see. We'll see. I think maybe some of the momentum is out of here. I think some of the wind might be out of its sail. We've had a wild day today, yesterday, last night, Friday. It's just been extraordinary times, unique times in the marketplace. Maybe once a generation, you're going to see this, maybe twice. I guess if you were trading during Lehman Brothers, maybe you saw it. In '94, maybe you saw it. So these are times that are unique. Eventually, we'll get back to normalcy. Not right now. So that's where we're going to kind of pivot over here a little bit. We'll keep scanning a little bit. Short stop at 45. Griffin is a short stop at 45. If I could kind of find my tab at the bottom. We're trading 47, 48. So I'm sorry, Griffin, I missed it. Looks like you're long or no? It's looking strong here in the ES for sure. We still have another, I don't know, 2 more minutes before this bar closes. We'll see what happens when this 10-minute bar closes. Getting close, getting close. Just while we're waiting, toggle over to bonds one more time. All right, so we did break a little bit in bonds. Let's do the stats on that particular candle. We have a high to low of seven ticks. Not a huge move, but a couple $100 plus per contract. Not a small one either. So if you would have done the counter trend trade, maybe you would have a chance of success. Maybe this thing's settling down. I don't anticipate it getting back to the point of control in the next 11 minutes. No way. Gold right at that point of control. That's just a beautiful thing to look at. Griffin says 87, 94, 98, and 99 to the long side, 200, 2008. Yeah. All right. So Griffin is labeling is just, he's been around a little bit, just like I have. 1987, 1994, 1998, 1999 to the long side. 2000, 2008. Yeah, you got the years right. Okay, so Griffin has a resting order to short at 45. Gotcha. Robin is here. Good to see you, Robin. Griffin, you're too young to be trading the 1-minute chart, LOL. And he replies, could be. You got to be on your toes. All right, so we're driving here. Let's just take a peek. Yeah, so this is not looking good. I'm not going to move my stop. The reason is I'm not, even though I do have a sense we're going to get stopped out here, is because moving stops, moving targets, reversing, doing things like that generally backfire, right? Generally backfire. I came up with an idea. Hey, top of the value area on the volume profile, I'm using that area of interest is a place where I'm going to put my stop. I'm going to hold my ground. I don't like it. CCI is pointed up to 141, getting strong, already strong, actually sloping up pretty good. Moving average cross is about to cross. It's certainly converged. Griffin said not interested now, canceled his trade. Okay. And that's another thing. That's not a bad idea, right? Price action isn't what you thought it was going to be. It's taken too long from what you thought it was going to be. And you decided the paradigm of the market has changed to a point where I'm not interested in taking that trade idea anymore. Totally legitimate. Totally legitimate. Actually, more than legitimate. It's a good idea. Look at that. We touched to the top. I bet you we're going to drive back down to the point of control. That would be interesting. We touched that top of that value area, down 25. Point of control is looking pretty attractive here for sure, but we'll see. We got a higher high, a higher low, another continuation candle. My rectangle is meaningless right now. I'm taking it away, although I'm going to draw it from over here right now. I'm just going to keep it over to the sideline right now and see if it holds. That would be an interesting trade. Let's kind of move it over just to see what happens with this candle here. We're approaching the end. So, 8 minutes to the bell, regular trading hours. Not going to leap into anything willy-nilly. Griffin said I would have bet money it would sell into the close, but I have seen this so many times here lately. That's why I use stops. I got you. He's entering on a stop. I hear you for sure. And that's a good strategy, right? Remember, stops could be protective or you could enter on a stop. As an example, and I'm not going to let this trade ride, but let's say I decided if I wanted to see a lower low on this candle here, I want to go short, I want to sell on stop. By placing a stop market order right here at 43.50, I'm not protecting a position. What I'm saying is if this candle breaks back down and we get to this price point, I want to get short, right? I want to get short. By the way, this buy is no longer any good and no longer is a stop. That's the idea of entering an order on a stop loss. And I'll leave it there just to kind of show you. And then the idea is, well, now we're going to get, if we do start breaking down, we're going to get to my area of interest here. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to drive back down to that point of control. And I want to try to buy it back at a lower price, right? So that's kind of an idea. Again, and I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. I wouldn't do this in my live account. Don't follow along live at this particular point, but I just kind of wanted to demonstrate to see if we got it. Robin says I trade mostly NQ at night, and that's, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good opportunities at night for sure. What time, Robin, though? Are you doing early night or are you waking up in the middle of the night and doing the European Open or pre-market? It's another area. Sellers are coming in right now in this candle pretty good. TJ says I trade ES futures and SPY options. I hear ES numbers in my sleep. Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, big wick on the top. All right, so it triggered our sell, right? So it triggered our sell. And right now, we want to see continuation selling to try to approach our target here at the bottom. We got 4 more minutes to the close. Griffin, short resting at 51. He's short at 51. Short at 51 right now. See if we get continuation selling or not. We're this trade's, working against us right now. By the way, I am, from a trade management point of view, I'm going to put a stop in here. And it's going to be a buy stop, right? Because I'm short. So I'm going to go ahead and right click, put buy stop. And right above my rectangle, a little bit higher. I mean, because it's a micro, I'm going to give myself a little bit more breath. And that's one of the beauties of the micros. You could do that. You can give yourself a little bit more breath. And that's what I'm doing right now. Griffin's out of 56. So, recap, breakout trade on the downside at the end of the day, probably not a good idea. So this is kind of what happens when you try to enter on a stop. We literally ended up selling the bottom of the move. And the same thing you could do, end up buying the top of a move. So when you use that technique, it's kind of dangerous. So be careful, use it wisely. And this is a good example of when not to use it. Robin sleeps all day. Sounds nice. You and my dog. It's no offense. I know I shouldn't have said that. No offense. I'm not trying to make an analogy. I'm just saying she likes to sleep all day, and then she bothers me all night. Jonathan Hartley. Hey, Jim. Hey, Jonathan. Thanks for being here. So I've got about 5 more minutes. Let's keep an eye on this. This is still positive. You know, it would be funny if we drove back to unchanged on the day. What would that tell us? Maybe the Jen Psaki press conferences was gold. I don't know. Let's just take a look at the quote board while we're at it. ES down 18. NQ is in the green. RTY in the green. YM having a really hard time is minus 217. So here's another thing that's kind of interesting I like to look at, by the way. Jonathan, welcome. Appreciate you being here. We're going at it every day, in the morning, every day in the afternoon. We have the DAX here. Pretty negative right now, and this is, Europe in essence is closed, right? Regular trading hours, it's a night session, and it's pretty negative here as well. So we're going to keep an eye on that, because sometimes it actually leads us a little bit sometimes. I don't know if it's doing that right now or not, but US side, things are looking stronger than probably they should, in my humble opinion. We still haven't got stopped out. It's like teasing us for sure. The dollars, the crosses, Aussie strong, British pound sterling strong, Canadian dollar really strong, yen a little bit strong, and then we have euro is weak, peso's weak, so a little bit of a mixed bag here on that. On crude oil, $95, bullish, strong for sure. Gold, $23. Bullish, strong, 1910, still above 1900. And then look at this, ultra bonds up 4 handles, treasury bonds up 3 handles. This is risk off. This is going to worry me tonight when I go to sleep about the U.S. equity market. Just keep an eye on that. Just keep an eye on that interest rate complex right here. It surprises me, but it's kind of bad. So let me cancel this. We got stopped out of that. Buyers are coming in. If it says I'm done for the day, I'm usually flat by 3:58. Jason Jonas, he does. Good group of people here. Jonathan, thanks for that kind remark. Appreciate it. And I'm excited about it. We're going to keep doing these things, as we go and go and go. Programming is going to be added to the NinjaTrader channel more frequently throughout the year. And any feedback, ideas, comments, shoot me out an email, type it in the chat room. Appreciate the feedback. Erblin, hello. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody spending time with me here today. We're almost at the end here. We got another 2 minutes here. Let's see what happens. ES down only 11. This is what I'm saying. We are in interesting times for sure. This has been kind of a wild, wild ride. Another minute and 12 seconds left. I'm looking at my counter. NQ finishing strong. It's the end of the marathon. It's literally the last mile. You just passed Heartbreak Hill. You're in Boston. You're cruising. This is it. We're at the very, you can see the finish line. Unbelievable. Up 50. Wow. What a day. Extraordinary day today. Fernando, I don't know if there's a template available. It's easy to make your market analyzer. Stick around. I'll just kind of show you a couple of quick tricks real quick here. A flurry activity into the close. It looks like, wow, we could get close to unched right here, right now. 32 seconds left. We're going to leave it. I'm going to delete my rectangle. It was embarrassing. It's gone. I just feel like running. You got it, Jason. You got it. Got to run the store, so I'm told. Griffin's getting some directions from his boss. Thanks for being here. Good to see you. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow morning also. Whew. Wow. Point of control did not hold today, although we still have 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Closing time is officially upon us. Whew. So now let's focus here for a second remember, we have a whole another hour for the dust to settle. Even though regular trading hours is over in New York and a lot of the over-the-counter markets, this is not. This is still going. And it's like a cleanup period, right? It's like a cleanup period. And anything could happen. Now, one of the advantages of futures trading at this point is, let's say there was an after-hours earning announcement. You could participate. Let's say that you weren't able to, you didn't want to rush out of a position during regular trading hours. You can get out of your position and still be on, day trade margin criteria for most brokers. Chris Cagg says, hard to trade the close on a volatile day. Yes, it is. Agree with that. Robin just grabbed 40 NQs. Robin loves the NQs. We'll focus on NQs some more a little bit. Controlled confusion, great day. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. Beach Bomb asking what time tomorrow. Beach Bomb, thanks for being here. Hopefully, we're trying to schedule this early in the morning, right? So 9:10 in the morning, East Coast time, and then 3:15 in the afternoon, East Coast time. Gives you all day to surf, to hang out at the beach, to do whatever you do in the middle of the day. We're trying to accommodate your schedule. Robin loves volatile sessions. My signals push forward more than. Thumbs up. John says, DJ, congrats. Awesome comments. Appreciate you guys being here. So, right now things are settling down. You can see all of these are 23-hour markets, right? We got the little extra hour of action. You can see the quote board. Quotes are still moving around. Some of them aren't moving around as much as others, but some of them are still moving around a little bit. We'll just kind of cruise through each particular one. I mean, you know what? Let's do it on a daily chart. Should we do it on a daily chart? No, we're going to do it on a 10-minute chart. So we saw this big push at the very end, pretty far. These are big candles. They don't look that big, but they are, right? They're big candles here. And now it's kind of like we peaked out. Now there's a little slap, I'm going to call it. There's going to be some of the slap going on, unless there's some news that happens while we're waiting. We could have something come out of the White House. We could have something come out. So just be careful. Volume is going to be a lot less. Overall, the E-mini volume was 2 million today. Huge day, a lot of volume. Micro NASDAQ, 1.9 million. So a little less. That's unusual. Usually the micro NASDAQ leads the band here. It hasn't. The classic E-mini S&P has. What a day for the E-mini S&P. Lafayette's favorite is the ES over all the other ones. Chris says, don't know what happened, but I lost audio for about 5 or 10 minutes. Sorry about that. I think he may have been the only one. I don't have any other folks in here suggesting that it was an issue. It's probably a YouTube thing. Structurally similar in the NASDAQ. Get rid of these orders. Be careful at the end of the day. Don't leave orders dangling. You don't leave orders dangling, especially if you've already sent it to the exchange. Like if this were a live account, this would have been at the exchange. You wake up with a long position. You're like, Jim, I was flat. Well, you forgot to cancel that. Cancel that. Cancel all. Make sure you're in good shape. YM, systematic view of the YM right now. RTY, off my chart. RTY is finished, still trying to finish strong. It's still got a green candle moving up forward here, but its point of control is pretty high north here. And in the RTY small cap stock, it's going to react differently to international news. These small cap stocks typically are more sensitive to domestic news than international news. Although supply chain matters, commodity prices matter, input prices matter for sure, but a little bit less sensitive than the large cap stocks would be that have international presence. Crude oil, nothing happened at the end of the day in crude oil. Sideways, really small candles. Gold, just trying to go up. Again, be careful with gold tonight. Anything could happen. When you have a conflict like this, keep this in mind, guys, too. When you have a conflict like this, conflicts don't stop at night. Right. Well, most of us are in the U.S. Some of us aren't. We have a lot of folks here that aren't. But keep that in mind. And be careful being on your toes, especially if you're holding positions over, you're swing trading, you're holding positions over. Make sure you log back in, you get those stops in, and you pay attention to what's going on. Treasury bonds, stronger than I thought. right at the top. We're closing on the high here. I feel like there's going to be some continuation buying as we go. Whew. All right. Cruise back over the MES. Interesting day. All right. We're going to end with daily charts. Talk about, let's start talking about it now. What the futures hold going forward. Let's pull it up here. And again, I like to look at the daily chart kind of as a establishing bias, right? And I want to look at the structure. We almost have an equal and opposite candle here on the ES. I'm surprised at how strong we closed. I'm a little bit skeptical for sure going forward here. But maybe it's good news. Maybe we're going to be back to the negotiation tables. Maybe we're going to hear the word ceasefire. When we do, get ready for this thing to rock, because it will. And I guess that's in my opinion. Maybe we won't hear that word. I don't know. A lot of crazy sanctions. Everybody's jumping on the pile right now with the sanctions. I mean, it's all over Twitter, social media, thehill.com, Zero Hedge. Don't read Zero Hedge unless you want to be depressed for the rest of your life. But there's some good articles there as well. Just kind of glancing. It looks like Saki's press conference is over. I'm just looking at my news feed real quick on the side here. And more of the same. And then you're going to see some saber rattling as well. Don't let that freak you out. Focus on the legitimate news information that has some sort of substance to it, that has some sort of concrete information on it, for sure. All right, let's kind of move forward here. NASDAQ's looking strong. It's not an inside bar. It looks like it's moving on up. We'll see. We'll see what happens tonight. This is a nice wick here at the bottom of NASDAQ. Maybe we will see continuation buying here in the micro NASDAQ or in the classic NASDAQ. They're going to be moving in sync for sure. Robin says 3 points isn't technically a scalp. No, it's not. Scalping is grabbing a tick or two. Yes, it is. I started with the floor traders who didn't pay any commissions, Robin says. And then Robin continues to say, this is when Jim was already semi-retired in his old age, because Jim's older than me. But I hear you. Yeah, scalping's a whole different thing. It's not a thing anymore, unless you're an algo. Yeah, Loftus says scams come around times like this. Be careful how you donate. I'm with you on that. There's sanction ideas flying around, and you got to be careful. Some of them have been legitimized. Some of them have not been legitimized. Some of them are rumors. So make sure you kind of look at the fine print here. Russell 2000 looking strong. YM looking more like the ES, right? Inside bar. This is a textbook case of an inside bar, right? The idea is tomorrow we're either going to break up out of that or down below it on a typical inside bar. But again, unusual times right here. This is going to be a systematic move up. Gold, still too high for comfort. Still too high for comfort. The body of the candle here is rivaling the body of the candle 2 sessions ago, Friday session, right? This wick up here easily could be challenged. I'd be really careful selling gold right now. Just looking forward, my gut feeling right now, we'll see what happens when the evening session brings. But that's a little bit, this is what I'm looking at. Micro crude, interesting kind of candle formation here. Let's kind of open this up. Sellers came in, really pushed this 2 sessions ago Friday. Then we had kind of a sideways day, more or less. But sellers pushed back as well down here. Very interesting. So when you talk about sanctions, let's keep a focus on that, right? Oil's still flowing in theory. OPEC Plus hasn't changed their stance for March. 400 million barrels, just like they said they would. And then the other factors of what's going on with all of the other strategic releases, maybe coming, maybe not coming, probably not going to move the needle that much. Rig counts are going up in North America. It takes 9 to 12 months for a new rig to go online to start producing anything that's going to move the needle. Keep that in mind. No, I hear you, Robin. I'm just teasing you. I was just kidding. Glenn says hello. Hello, Glenn. Thanks for being here. Glenn Harry O'Connor. You got everything in there. Okay. I'm still bullish here. And so as long as we're in this channel, this 20 period moving average cross, I don't know if you can see it, a moving average, this golden line under here, it's just tracking nice at the bottom, really tracking nice at the bottom of the range. Even though the MACD is starting to flip a little bit, I don't buy it just yet. I'm not buying it. Daily chart on bonds. This is probably the scariest thing I've seen so far today. This is a pretty big candle. This is a pretty big punctuation mark. Part of it might be, hey, the Fed is dovish now, but I don't know. This is looking to me like a fight to quality move a little bit. And, we could start looking for areas of support and resistance. I'm going to draw a line right now. It's a real rough line. I'll make it better tonight after I think about it a little bit more. But, when I start looking at tops of candles, I start moving sideways with twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. This is a really nice support and resistance line right now. Could be a target, could be meaningful. Maybe it's going to trade off it. Maybe it's going to blow through it. I'm going to focus on that tonight when I'm kind of reestablishing these charts. So be careful with the bonds. Glenn says, what? Brisbane, Australia flooded out. Yeah, we heard they're having some bad floods there, man. If you're there, I hope you're okay. For sure. Moving forward here, Bitcoin again. This is a mystery candle. Not sure why it's so powerful. I'm really going to vote on the fact that this is there's going to be some money movements going on using Bitcoins when you have SWIFT restrictions. You have all sorts of banks locking things down. You have assets being restricted. And money flow is being restricted. So this could be an important thing. I know I heard today the chatter is that the U.S. federal government is really putting the word out to the coin exchanges, right? Not just Bitcoin, but all of them saying, hey, look out for suspicious activity, heads up, be on your game. And that makes a little bit of sense to me. Glenn has given us a thumbs up. He is okay. Thank goodness. Appreciate that. Robin says, Andrew, pitchfork on bonds. Very possible. I'm not a pitchfork pro, so I'm not going to step in that one. Let's take a look at the dollar index moving forward. The trend is up right now, even though we have some sellers that came in right now. Let me draw my crosshairs. And dollar index is the U.S. dollar versus several other currency pairs to kind of give you a relative strength of the U.S. dollar. Again, I expect sideways behavior sooner than later. That's going to correspond to December and January price action here, around 96-ish, between 96 and 96 and I don't know, a quarter is going to be my guess. We'll see if things settle down here with the dollar index. Let's just kind of go across copper futures. Stuck in my triangle. I haven't moved this triangle in days. Like this is aluminum prices are a different story, right? Because again, a lot of this stuff comes from Russia or the Ukraine, and so that's a different chart altogether. But copper futures, when you talk about construction here in the U.S. and processes here in the U.S., this is an important price to keep your eye on right now. I have my kind of real crude triangle drawn to see if we can get a breakout either way. And it's not cooperating, just kind of stuck in the middle here. We'll see what tomorrow brings here. And it's really a lot of sideways action in copper, but it's kind of an indicator of local economic potential. Paul says, thanks much. Lumber, again, more domestic than anything else in my mind. We're still below my trend line here. But we're not moving down. We're moving sideways. Still, lumber prices are very expensive. Builders are passing this on to new construction and to folks who are trying to buy, build new houses. It's a thing, and it's going to be a thing. Look at all these limit up, limit up. Finally found its groove up here around 1,200. Ruble, no closing comment. This can go lower. So again, we talked about this in the morning sessions a lot. Don't look at a chart and say it can't go any lower. It could go lower. Will it go lower? I don't know. It could go higher. It could go sideways. It could go nowhere. but just don't look at it and say, oh, it looks like it can't go any lower. Right? You get some science behind why, right? Let's get some science behind why. I would not be a buyer of this right now, FYI. Let's shoot over then. Final word on wheat. This is a really, really gnarly candle. Gnarly is a technical term. I'm going to trademark it. Gnarly candle, almost looks like a shooting star or a hammer kind of formation from a doji point of view. Let me just open this up a little bit more. Buyers came back in and pushed it up to the close. Pushed it up to the close. This is where we're at. I don't know. This might be limit up. No, it's not. It can't be. Well, it could be. It actually could be limit up. I don't know. Maybe it is. Someone in here might know the answer to that, which means we're going to have continuation buying tomorrow, if that's the case, is my guess. The sanction thing is going to be a big deal here. And so this is going to impact everything very strongly. All right. I do want to remind everybody before I finish here, a couple things. Trading futures, options on futures involves substantial risk of loss, not suitable for all traders and investors. A lot of leverage, a lot of volatility. Be careful, risk capital, be patient, use micro futures if you have to. There's no shame in that game. There's a lot of meat on the bone, and these things are moving. We're in very volatile times. Average true ranges are big, and you can get a lot out of them. So be careful with them. Just easy with the day trade margins for sure. That's number. Heinrich says, Hangman down. There you go. That's the doji name I was looking for. Heinrich on the wheat. Hangman. You know, doji people have all sorts of really fancy, really colorful names for their dojis. And you know, one of these days we should just kind of go through and identify what they all are. I don't even remember them all anymore. I'm so old. But anyway, so keep that in mind on the risk, guys, for sure. Hit that thumbs up button. If I merited a thumbs up, greatly appreciate it on the YouTube channel. Remember, tomorrow morning, we're going to go at it again, 9:10 East Coast time. I'm going to ask Mark one last set time if he could cut and paste that. The whole schedule of all the events from NinjaTrader on the events page in there. So hang tight. He'll do that for us. And we had a good day. Fernando says, Jim, could you show us a shortcut in setting up all those instruments in the market analyzer? Yeah, let me do that in the last minute here really quickly. Market analyzer, you know, just like everything NinjaTrader, everything's easy. Right click anywhere and you get these submenus, right? You could add instruments. You could either pick ones that are pre-populated. You could search for ones. You could look in one of these categories and you could add these instruments just by doing this one at a time and populate your quote board on the way down. That's kind of step number one. Thanks, Mark. Step number two, add blank rows, right? You want some separation, add some blank rows. If you want to add a label row like I do, like I have stock index labeled up there right above it, click on that. It'll add a label row. You'll be able to type in whatever you want to call it. Remove a row. Straightforward stuff, right? Columns here. If you want to add some columns, you click on that and you get a whole bunch of columns. This is why it's called the market analyzer. And then there's all sorts of different things you could add to this thing. I'm a simple guy and I want to have a simple presentation. So I just have a few things configured here. I have the instruments, the net change, the last price, and the daily volume. Those are important to me. But you have all of these other things. Many of them apply to futures trading, right? Many of these apply to futures trading. And you can add these to your market analyzer and expand it greatly. Same thing with the trading ladder. You can expand the trading ladder greatly just by right clicking. And really quickly, while I have 1 minute left, I want to show this because it's really important. Robin says 9:10 is too late. Well, all right, you could do the early morning show then, and I'll show up at 9:10. 9:10. No, man, she's a night person. Again, trading ladder in the white spot, right click, columns. You could add things like volume and P&L. Let's just do it real fast. Volume. I'm going to add it, apply it, add it, really modular. This is going to put, throw in there histogram bars, right? If you want to add actual numbers, do it again. Columns, then just select volume down here and then show volume text. I know I'm going really fast. We're up against the clock. We're almost done. Just want to hit apply and okay. So right click, try the platform out, download it for free, right click on things, go to the videos, how to, jump in here and ask questions and we're good to go. All right. Having said all that, it's almost closing time. It's the end. We're past closing time. I want to thank everybody for being here. Feel free to tell your friends, share the link, your neighbors, your relatives, your countrymen, You tell your enemies. We'll make them your friends. Invite everybody. The more the merrier. The more feedback and interaction we get, the better off we're going to be. Jason, thank you for that. I am going to leave you with this. Be safe out there. Be good to each other. Thanks for coming.